Hiya. Hello, if you're just tuning in to this live stream, this is the next episode of our Creme Brulee series where Venus is the main character and the Venus in Capricorn transit. So if you're in the live chat, do drop a comment. Let me know who you are, where you are, and I hope you have your birth chart with you. And for everyone else watching this after the fact, you can leave a comment as well below. Hopefully I have some insight for you. And I'd also like to know where you have Capricorn in your chart, your birth chart, because that's where Venus is going to be kissing all of your natal placements in that sign. And also let me know which houses you have Capricorn in your birth chart. So without further ado, let's get into it. So welcome back. I'm Hini, a spiritual astrologer. And if you're interested in a reading, you can look in the description below. If you're a Capricorn sun, you get 20% off all of my services, which I offer until the 20th of January for Capricorn suns. You can also book a reading for a Capricorn sun loved one, and you get the same 20% off offers. So you can contact me in the description below. That's where you'll find my details. And if you like my content, please do give this video a like. This is River Horse, by the way. But please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel as well if you like what I do. But, I'm not forcing you. So Venus in Capricorn. The dates, first of all, for this transit, and I have my notes here so I don't go too off tangent or too long this evening on this Sunday fun day. Happy Sunday fun day, by the way. The moon's in Virgo, feeling good. But yes, the dates of this transit are from January 9th to February 1st of 2021. And by the way, does anyone watching, whether alive or later, you can let me know, but did anyone watch my Mars direct video that I made? Because just let us know if you did. But at the end or towards the end of that video, you might recall I kind of talked briefly about this spider that we had. I think it was was I talking about Scorpio? I can't remember what I was talking about, but I think it was the Mars Direct video, and I was talking about a spider that lived in our old place. We've just moved house, by the way, quite recently, so things are a bit in the air right now, but there was this spider that I talk about in that video, and literally on the eve of our moving out date, I saw the spider, the same spider, go to the middle of its web and start to curl up like this, its legs. And I had read, actually, because I read a lot about spiders, but I've read that some species do that when they're about to die. Some of them do it when they're really afraid. Have you ever got close to a spider and it just freezes and kind of curls up? They do that as a defense mechanism sometimes. But also when they die, there's something to do with the muscles, the way their muscles or joints, I don't know the science, but there's something to do with their limbs where once they're dying. Hello, how you doing, Queen of Swords? Welcome. Talking about spiders. But there's something about their limbs that kind of just goes in like that, kind of rigor mortis, if that's the word, but for spiders. So that was what was happening, and literally the eve of moving out, it happened, and the spider eventually dropped from the web dead. So I found that quite an interesting closing of our relationship, my little relationship with the spider over the past couple months, which, as I said, I talked about in my Mars Direct video. More detail there about spiders and the sort of archetypes and the relevance to what's going on for all of us collectively. Hiya, Heidi, how you doing? Welcome. I did a reading for your friend today. It was really fun. She woke up very early just for the reading, so on this Sunday fun day as well. So I hope she enjoyed it. But yes, I wrote down here then that, our spider friend was preparing to die on the eve of me moving out of that old house, cycles closing. But I wrote that a lot of us, perhaps watching this right now, or when Venus hits Capricorn, this could be even more relevant. But we are packing and preparing, in some cases, literally, like to move home, to move. But packing and preparing, doing a lot of these typically Capricorn season things. I'm happy she was excited, Heidi. Again, I really sincerely hope it helped. And if anyone else watching would like a reading, you can check out my details in the description below. And again, 20% off if you're a Capricorn sun right now. Or if you know a Capricorn sun and you want to book for them, you can get the same discount. Hello, my love Shasta. Hello, come on in. Happy Sunday fun day, everyone. But yes, we're talking about Venus in Capricorn. Let me know if you have your birth chart handy, or if you know it, where you have Capricorn in your chart. Because as I said, this is where Venus is going to kiss all your natal placements. This is River Horse, by the way. But yes, there's going to be this natural passage of time. And by the way, when I talk about my things in astrology on this channel, this is just my take. And I really don't want anyone to feel like I'm judging them with my takes, my interpretations. I'm not judging you. I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm telling you what to do. You should never feel like that about any astrologer, any teacher, anyone. So I just want to put that out there first. It's just my take and my channel. So I hope you appreciate that. But I do also talk about the light and the shade of these transits. So I'm not like overly positive, and I'm also not like all doom and gloom trying to scare you either. But there's this like natural passage of time that I think Venus and Capricorn is going to bring. And we just have to accept it. Capricorn season is a season of just accepting things a lot of the time, in a very adult, mature way. And, accepting cycles ending when they're meant to end, basically. Ooh, 14 degrees conjunct Hygeia and Vega. I don't even know about these stars. Are they stars? Yeah, I don't know too much about the specific stars, and there's so many asteroids as well. But that sounds really interesting. I'm going to look into that later. Thank you. Queen of Swords. And you have Venus. Oh my gosh, if you have Venus in Capricorn natally, then you're having a Venus return quite soon. That's incredible. Do let me know. Do keep me updated. But yeah, this natural passage of time is gonna become more relevant for us, and cycles will end when they're meant to end, and we just have to accept it. And the vibe, I don't have the cards with me, but I wanted to show you the tarot card Six of Cups from the Rider-Waite deck. Is anyone familiar with Rider-Waite? Heidi, you have 23 degrees Capricorn, 11th house. Ooh, I have 23 degrees Capricorn on the cusp of my 7th house. So we both have it on the cusp of air signs. That's interesting. I hope everyone can hear me, by the way. Okay. I'm using a bit of a different setup right now in this new place, but I hope it's fine. So I wanted to, anyway, to show you, those of you who know, or you can look it up, you can Google it later, the Rider-Waite tarot deck card, the Six of Cups, because I think that's something. Wow, that's amazing. There's some imagery basically in that cup that speaks, I think, to this transit, or speaks just more generally to what's going on, astrologically speaking, with the Six of Cups. And that is to let these things flow. That is the passage of time. Let it flow. Let the ending of cycles end, the ending when they're meant to end. Let it be, let it flow. And also let it be, or let yourself be at a certain peace with things like death and things like quiet. These are also things that are associated with Capricorn season. And Capricorn is a very inward sign. And so all the inward signs, to some extent, deal with this spiritual quiet. And also, in some cases, prepare for departures. If you are departing some sort of time frame, time period, or some physical, literal space, or both, then it's the season to be preparing for that. Six of Cups as nostalgia. Yes, that's a really nice definition as well. I like that. And in that Six of Cups Rider Waite imagery, you have like a younger person passing flowers or something to an older person. And so in Capricorn season, there's always that dynamic as well, paying homage to your elders, your ancestors, your family. And so, on my channel recently, I did rant a little bit about like New Year and Christmas and the fake pageantry of it all. But there is something to be said about Capricorn season and how it is important to connect with your lineage, to connect with ancestors, or family, however that is construed. So I think that is very natural to Capricorn season. Also, it's like the perfect time to, I always think about this with Capricorn season, but Venus being in Capricorn very soon, it's the perfect time to sit down with a cup of tea. But it's like a cup of tea that's kind of healthy, no milk, and like no frills, and maybe even like a bit bitter as well. So it's actually the perfect time to sort of indulge yourself in that way in Capricorn season, and to sit in the serenity of silence as well. There's a certain serenity in silence. No milk. Yes, no milk. And in this like serenity of silence, you get this sometimes unfamiliar but quiet promise of something that is going to be like stripped back, or the stripping back of minimal space and time becomes more relevant. So everything is becoming more stripped back. That is going to be the vibe. You might like to call it austerity, but it's interesting because we have Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn and Mercury very soon. You can check out my recent Mercury in Aquarius video for that. But silence, serenity, and this aspect of stripping back, that's going to be the vibe more increasingly, or the beat. If you're interested in what Venus is, I do talk a bit more about Venus in my last video as part of this series where I talked about Venus and Sagittarius. Yeah, Heidi, just sitting in silence. Capricorn, like all the inward signs, is a great season for meditation. And especially meditation at night, because Capricorn is also associated with the darkness. The mergoat, I talked about that recently in one of my videos. The mergoat and this grotto that we're in right now in Capricorn season, this gem-encrusted grotto, that is not actually about money or material, or like magically manifesting things out of nowhere. It's not actually supposed to be about that. It's supposed to be about a lot of reflection and waiting, and most importantly, I think, appreciating how far you've come through that meditation. And also, this stripping back and minimal space and time. So keeping things as minimal as you can. You don't have to obsess over it, and it's not really like a spring clean season either. But there's something to be said about when Venus hits Capricorn, about minimalism of your space and time, and just letting things fall away or decay. Capricorn is about decay as well. It's sextile Scorpio, so there's a theme of decay as well, but like acceptance, a mature acceptance of time and space that has to just decay, and being okay with it. Also, I think we're going to be more flowing as Venus enters Capricorn with a grown-up wisdom. And it's a great time for some of us to journal, to actually write things, especially while Mercury is still in Capricorn. But to journal, maybe get a new almanac or a diary or something. By the way, let me just get this one for anyone interested. I got this in the last year. This is from the Magic of I. You can go to Magic of I, that's the capital I, magicofI.com. And this is actually a vegan. Any vegans watching, but you might be interested. It's a vegan sort of, it's kind of like it's not really an almanac, but kind of is in some ways, but it's like an astrological sort of planner. obviously it's like a normal diary as well, but it has a lot of astrological sort of information and stuff to help you interpret the glyphs and the transits and all that jazz. I really loved using this. I really loved it. It's almost finished now, but the magic of I, if you're interested. But yeah, writing in journals, a lot of us could do this when Venus hits Capricorn or benefit from that. Getting a new almanac or a new calendar and getting it ready for March. And that's something I've been talking about on my channel, like how it's not really the season to dive too quickly or too naively, especially with the Mercury retrograde coming relatively soon. It's not a good idea to jump too naively into the resolution sort of hype, and to kind of get your diary, your almanac, your calendar, and have it sitting and wait for it to kind of kick in around March, the middle of March, which is the actual start of the astrological year, where we actually, spiritually speaking, but also sometimes in the Northern Hemisphere, literally speaking, we actually feel more in the zone for new things, for new cycles. And Venus is also entering the first Baktio, or Decan, it's sometimes called as well, of Capricorn. And this is the realm of Imhotep, this really interesting Egyptian real person who was also later deified. And this person this deity represented healing and taking care of your health then, and body, and your joints, and your ears, and your skin, and your bones. All of this is Capricorn stuff. It's very important as Venus transits Capricorn. Self-care of these parts of your body. Hiya, thank you very much. That's such a nice thing to say. Oh. Oh, and Shasta is a minimalist junkie. Lovely. And I guess it's gonna vamp up come Venus and Capricorn for you. But yes, this archetype of Imhotep, and like healing all of these Capricorn parts of you. So your health, your body, your joints, your ears, your skin, and your bones. These things that we often take for granted, but which are so integral to our very structure, right? Or our very like most immediate boundary, our skin. So taking care of all of those things, especially if this Capricorn season in general has a bit of that devil energy coming in for you. If you're still struggling with devil energy or by this time, it's a good idea to take care of your health, like skin wise, bone wise, teeth wise. Not so much teeth, that's more like Aquarius season, but like ears and your joints. Make sure you're not overworking as well, because that's something that can happen with this devil energy that Capricorn season always brings. And anyway, I mentioned this sort of Egyptian theme because the degrees, the decan, comes from the Egyptian take, if you like, on Mesopotamian astrology. So when we look at your birth chart, it has the houses, it has the zodiac, and it has also usually the decans or the divisions of all the signs in different sections, right? That actually comes from Egypt. And so it's important that we look at that side of things as well. And once you get into it, you really notice how certain ancient deities, also their energies also come through, they're revisited, they're recalled when a planet touches that degree. So the degrees are important. They're not just like numbers. Also, I want to reference Achyuta Bhavadasa. Some of you might know him here on YouTube, very famous. I'm currently studying on a scholarship under Achyuta Bhava. But something he mentioned recently in a video on Venus, he talked about Venus being about cleanliness as well, and keeping temples clean. So temples, so I didn't know this, but in traditional astrology, Venus was associated with temples or like the cleanliness of temples. So that's very interesting. So it's kind of like appreciating and cleaning your Possessions. That's what I got for you. Things like your kettle, your filters, your like really mundane, homey family things. Making sure these things are actually cleaned during this season and cared for and sanctified. There might be some things in your house that are actually very precious, very holy to you that needs some attention. Mm, that might need to be washed or rubbed a little bit, or dusted off. And that's part of Capricorn appreciating things that have taken aeons to develop. It's the crocodile archetype, Capricorn. So things that have taken absolutely ages, right? And it's about appreciating those things. So also be careful when we jump into this New Year resolution vibe that you don't bump into these precious relics of yours and smash them. That's what can happen in Capricorn season, especially with Jupiter and Saturn and very soon Mercury in Aquarius. We can really get into this brand new idea fixation and smash things up. And some of us might like ruin our own work, how far we've climbed. But sanctify, that's something I mentioned. Yes, scrub your doorstep. Yes. I love that. Exactly. Um, but sanctification is something I mentioned as well. I think in like my full moon in Cancer video, maybe. But it's important in Capricorn season with Venus joining that we sanctify the family. Again, whatever family means to you, and sanctifying the foundations, your own foundations. These should be probably, or most preferably, these should be your spiritual foundations. So sanctifying them and tending, of course, to the delicate flame. And I talked about this multiple times now, but the delicate flame, this little flame, which we're trying to keep alight in this particular 2020-2021 astrological year. It's so important that we keep that flame going. Also, we have to understand with Venus entering Capricorn where we sit right now. And we need to understand where we're placed relationally, because Venus, of course, deals with how we relate, and how we love. It's our love language sort of planet. But where do we sit and where are we placed? And also, we need to think about the origins or vibe with the origins of some of our hierarchies and the dictates of hierarchies. So it's better to adhere to some hierarchies than to them. And it can be difficult for some of us with a lot of this Aquarian energy that is being ushered in. But sometimes it is better to like bow your head, and pay homage and know, where you stand in the pecking order. Another thing that Venus can bring for us generally is vanity, because is often associated with the superficial, attracting money, attracting material things. So with Venus being in Capricorn, this is like the vanity of capitalism, quite likely. I have on the thumbnail for this video a castle, right? You might have seen a picture of a castle, very Capricornian thing, castles. But Venus as well can love a good castle, love a good palace. And so this vanity of capitalism can creep in, or the vanity of reputation, status, these things creep in more. I do think that it is a good time for us to attract some more of the bricks, basically, that we need to further get us ready for the astral winter proper. So we're just starting the astral winter, right? The beginning of the end. Capricorn season is the beginning of the end. It's the first of 3 steps before we get to the spring. And so it's a good time when Venus is in Capricorn, I feel, to attract or let yourself attract the bricks that you need to build. And to further secure or further insulate. In Pisces season, when we do get there, that's the real season for insulation and almost doing nothing and just letting yourself completely succumb. So before you get to that space, you do want to make sure you have a good protection around you, good boundaries, good castle, thick castle walls to get you ready for the astral winter proper. This is especially at the beginning of the transit when we have the moon entering Sagittarius and sextiling Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. There is going to be this potential for some very funky sex because Venus, of course, is about the hot, hot passion, sensuality, and desire. And so funky sex with Capricorn, because Capricorn is the horny, raunchy, but quite private and a little bit mysterious goat. And so funky sex, but also like an intense desire. I think this sextile that the moon makes to Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius is going to bring us a desire to get more money as well, a desire to bring in new money. And I would say, though, just be aware of the role that Hermes is later going to play. Don't we all, Heidi? Get yourself a Capricorn, maybe. Because Capricorns and Capricorn risings, they've been having a whale of a time this whole past year. Some of them. But like, I would say just be aware of the role that Hermes is going to play with the Mercury retrograde later, i.e., things that you strongly want to desire to attract, maybe money-wise. Keep in mind that the retrograde often brings us the hiccups. It brings us the delays. The retrograde brings us the revisiting of certain trickster people or trickster energies. So, yeah, just know that everything comes and goes, right? What else did I write down for you? Hinsters. So the next thing is that some things are going to start to creep back in. That's true. But there's an adult or elevated side of us that can no longer be responsible for these things that creep in again. So again, we get the maturity. And so there's this like outgrowing for a lot of that we're going to be vibing with. That's how we're going to relate to people as well. Outgrowing situationships, outgrowing things where it just can't be helped anymore, or you just can't help them anymore. That kind of thing. And I talked about this in my Chiron going direct in Aries. Do check that video out if you haven't already. But Chiron is direct in Aries until like June or July of 2021. So it's a very important sort of energy to get used to, because that's also about no more freebies. And some people really need to hear this. No more freebies. Don't give yourself away too much. And Chiron in Aries is just warming up to get us back on track in that respect. But also Venus in Capricorn is going to help you realize that there are just some relationships or situations where you can't help anymore, or you can't do anything more, like even if you tried, and to be okay with that. Capricorn season is always season of just be okay with what decays. Be okay with what decays, because some things have to die and decay away, and it's fine. The beginning of the end, right? For some, though, the silliness as well with Venus and Capricorn, the silliness that you might have been involved with really starts to end. It ends. It's like enough. And the hard graft begins, because, of course, Capricorn is often associated with hard graft. If not hard graft, then excruciatingly careful steps, right? The mountain goat up the mountain. Okay. Chiron in Aries in the first house. Wow, Heidi. Chiron rising. I have a video on Chiron rising as well, which you might like. But yes, the silliness will start to end for a lot of people, especially if you're a Capricorn rising, when Venus hits your first house. It's kind of like the end of nonsense. And hard graft begins, or going back to the grind in some sense. And some of us will need to ask this question. Is this graft or this grind, is it for that new chapter that the eclipses, you remember the eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius, right? November is it November, December? Do you remember that? Um, and also this Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. Um, you know, to what extent is this graft and grind about the new chapter, and to what extent is it about the devil having us in the chains again? To what extent have we just let the devil back in again? Because that's prime Capricorn season stuff, the devil creeping back in. And remember, the devil often looks really familiar, very tempting, right? So keep that in mind as well. Venus and Capricorn also will allow for a lot of us to kill time. We're going to be killing time. Obviously, a lot of us in this pandemic, housebound, literally, but also spiritually, killing time and throwing out the sand timer. That's what I've got for us as well. We're throwing out, if you imagine you have a sand timer, that's why one of my emojis in this video title is a sand timer, because we're throwing it away or we're smashing it. But it's not because we are rejecting Capricorn or because we are rejecting time, because Capricorn is often associated with time. That would be kind of silly, right? It's that we are rejecting the receptacles or the devices that have previously contained time or told us how to abide by time. We are smashing those receptacles, and we're developing new internal clocks. And this is especially ushered in by Aquarian energy. So these new clocks are being built that are teaching us new ways of spending our time, new ways of planning. Capricorn is all about planning and architecture and the blueprints. And so new internal clocks being built for new timelines. And I don't mean the new normal. I just mean, like, spiritually speaking, new timelines that are going to go way beyond after the pandemic is over for some of us. There's also going to be this interesting dynamic of horizontal relationality being increasingly challenged by vertical relationality. This is really because we have a lot of Capricorn energy, but we also increasingly are getting a lot of Aquarian energy. And so this is the horizontal, which is Aquarius, wanting everything to be equal or wanting equity, and then Capricorn, which wants the hierarchy. And so we're getting increasingly this challenge, and Venus is going to introduce that to be the vibe, to be how we handle our relationships. And so there could be a lot of ways in which we want to strike a balance in our friendship circles or in our family hierarchy pecking orders again. It could be ways where we want to strike the balance, yes, or rearrange, yes, but to still, it's really odd because we're still going to be aware of the origins of hierarchy and the importance of some form of hierarchy. So it's really interesting. We're not like completely throwing the baby out with the bath, you know? It's very interesting what's going to happen. And also keep the ears pricked. This is all about balance as well, keeping your mind, your heart, your spirit on the balance of everything, especially material things, practical things, logical things. Stay balanced and don't go too crazy with the Aquarian energy. That is only going to heat up and up once we get into February. My gosh, February is very crazy mad scientist Aquarius. Okay. Also, there's this aspect with this Capricorn season in particular, but Venus, once Venus hits Capricorn, a lot more of us will be doing this, but there's this aspect of like appreciating and vibing with the silent streets. And a lot of our streets are very silent, and the sort of almost like appreciating or trying to create some form of aesthetic from desolate city centers or from empty streets, and trying to like take photographs of this and or tell stories about this, recount this. And so there's going to be like a sort of romance that will increasingly develop that has to do with our silent streets. And also we will begin to sit in that echo that I mentioned. But it's really interesting. Capricorn and Aquarius, they're both about the echo because they're both ruled by Saturn. Capricorn is more about sort of echo and processing our melancholy and processing our depression and processing our facing with time. And then the Aquarian side of the echo is like getting us ready to sit in a kind of capsule as if we're about to go off in a spaceship, somewhere completely different. So Aquarius season is much more sterile than Capricorn season, but we're already feeling some of this sterility. Is that a word? Um, sterility. Um, this echo in the or this void, and us sitting in this echo, sitting in this void. And I think some of it is coming from this appreciation of or vibing with silent streets or empty buildings, something like that. Um, and this is really the approach of Aquarius season, and those energies being echoed back to us. That's kind of all I really had to come and say in terms of this upcoming Venus in Capricorn transit. I hope those of you still with me on the live chat that you enjoyed this. And I hope that you have a fantastic week. My next video is going to be the new moon. I'm going to make a video on the new moon in Capricorn. So watch out for that, because that's a very fun moon as well. We're going to have the new moon conjunct Pluto. Yeah, so we'll talk more about that next time, but I hope to catch you in my next video or on my next stream. Share this with a Capricorn, especially if you know a Capricorn, share it with them. Or if you know a Libra or Taurus who are Venus ruled, or Libra Taurus rising, share it with them and share the astrological love. I love you as well, all very much. I love your jokes, Queen of Swords. Please don't stop. I love it. I can't wait to hear more. And you're all very welcome. I really appreciate you coming. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday fun day. Bye bye. Take care. Mwah.